Life. I'm Dean Wilson. I'm so glad you've joined us wherever you are. If you're joining us on the airwaves here in Santa Barbara, California, via TV Santa Barbara, or if you're on our website at goodlifetelevision.org, we're welcoming folks from, I think, 105 countries or so in all 50 states. We're so glad you're with us. Or if you're joining us on the podcast, which is growing in popularity. Good Life Conversations is the podcast, and you can find it on all the different platforms. So if you prefer to listen to the videos via podcast, we welcome you at Good Life Conversations. So we're glad you're with us, and we're talking to great people. If you go to goodlifetelevision.org, you'll see all the long form interviews and a lot of power clips. We break them up into what we call power clips, but just people of all walks of life, entrepreneurs, overcomers, business, music, entertainment, and the list goes on. So a lot of great people. Would love to have you check it out. And I've got a great person with me today. He is in the entertainment industry. Guido Verweyen is with me. Guido, welcome.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Guido, let me just tell them a little bit about you before we start. You're an Emmy-winning director and cinematographer. You're a graduate of the American Film Institute, born in the U.S., raised in Europe, but you've done a lot of directing, director of photography. You won an Emmy for Starting Over, which you did for NBC in 2005. Golden Eagle Award for Bravo. Or for Guide to Style, Tim Gunn's Guide to Style, which was for Bravo. And so you had an accomplished career, and we're going to talk about your latest project in a minute. But first, take me kind of back to, is this something you always wanted to do growing up?
I think so, yes. I've always been kind of like a little bit of an artist mind and a storyteller. So very visual. I've always loved stories, hearing stories and how it connects people. And so, I, at an early age, I had a little photo camera, took pictures, and then later on a video camera, did short films. And one of my short films got into American Film Institute. And, I just with a little bag packed from Germany, traveled to America and stayed, and since then I've been doing obviously a lot of projects, film projects and television projects, and happy to do this.
And so, primarily are you at least starting out, at the beginning, you're coming up with ideas for projects, right?
Oh, always. You always have to do that. And yes, sometimes you're the gun for hire. And so you're just filling in, say, as a director of photography on projects that are our television shows that get made, and you get hired for this. And that's how you make a living. But then, a lot of times you do projects on the side, your passion projects, like my latest film, The Green Wave. But I think there's always like a little bit of a choice you have in terms of what kind of projects you choose. And I've always been drawn into projects that are a little bit more inspirational by nature, about people who kind of like the everyday heroes,
Right. Oh, I love it. Well, yeah, we probably have a little bit of a similar vision in that respect in terms of getting the stories out.
Mm-hmm.
The part of the reason we're here at Good Life is to tell great stories, talk to great people, and because we think that oftentimes the good stuff kind of gets left out in this world where it's constantly about the latest problem, crisis, war, division, political unrest, whatever it might be. People are just worn out. I mean, people are worn out by the fighting and the bad news, and so there's such a great place for what you're thinking about, I think.
Oh, yes. And I mean, if you look at Crackle TV, the station that actually picked up my film, that was kind of the perfect fit. It was actually my dream come true. I had this as a post-it note while I was doing the film. I was putting it on my computer that this would be kind of the perfect fit for me, because I've always been a fan of Chicken Soup for the Soul, their books. I read pretty much all of their books. And here they are doing entertainment now, and picking up films that are inspiration by nature, and obviously not just always the dark material that everybody else seems to be gravitating to, you know?
Right. Yes. I was my previous guest actually today. We were talking about this in terms of the power of story.
Right.
Stories, I at least I find, I don't know if I don't think I'm alone in this, but if I listen to somebody talking or a speech or a sermon or whatever it is,
Right.
the chances of me remembering anything are low, but the chances of me remembering a story are very high.
Mm-hmm.
I think people, you can listen to a 30-minute speech or sermon or whatever it is, and you may remember a couple bullet points, but a powerful story, people remember stories. Isn't that true?
Yeah. And you know what? There's this saying that I always remember, and I think it's a Jewish saying that God created humans because he loves stories. And that kind of stuck with me because, you know, when you look at people who made it, a lot of them, they had really tough upbringings. They had a lot of struggles to overcome. And to me, maybe those are the people that even God roots for, because he wants
Yeah,
people to, you know, live to their fullest potential, you know?
right. And there is something about the underdog. There's something about the overcomer that is so inspirational and powerful.
Absolutely.
I think it's great. I love what you do. So you've served. We talk about this off air that sometimes you've been the director, sometimes you're the director of photography, but whatever it is, you're in this world and you're thinking about creative content on the inspirational side. So that leads us um, to this newest project called The Green Wave, where you're the director and the producer and the everything.
Right.
And The Green Wave can be found, as you mentioned, on crackle.com, Crackle TV.
Right.
So The Green Wave tells the incredible true story of Louis Mulkey, who's a basketball coach, a firefighter, a substitute teacher at Summerville High School. And then the story goes on that the coach passes away in a massive fire, and his underdog team goes on to achieve some great things. So tell us a little bit about why, kind of your thought process on this project. You mentioned this is kind of a passion project for you, but talk about this film.
Well, I first saw a little news clip on it. I think it was on YouTube. And I remember my wife came into the room and I turned to her with tears in my eyes because it was so, it was such a heartfelt story, right? I turned to her and said, like, that's going to be my next film project. And lo and behold, I mean, I reached out immediately to Ann Mulkey, the mom of this firefighter slash basketball coach. And she was immediately on board to participate. And 2 weeks later, I was already filming. I took my camera, I own my own camera equipment, and started interviewing people. And she had introduced me to the local high school teacher there, Missy Campbell, and she connected me with a lot of those boys that she knew from an early age, knew kind of their stories, their struggles, and was able to pick the right people for me for the project that could really show this inspiration and the impact this coach had on this team.
Wow. So let's talk about Coach Mulkey, just
Right.
what you've learned about him. Because it wasn't, from what I've read and learned, it really just wasn't about an on the court thing for him. But talk about this person, what you've learned.
Right. I mean, that was probably the big thing in this story, that he, not unlike other coaches, they're just all about winning and looking good on paper and giving those inspirational speeches that are, not always really coming from truth, right? And he brought the firefighting because he was a firefighter, a captain in the fire force. He brought that mentality of brotherhood and respect and love and family to this school. And he saw something in these boys, even though they were struggling, not just in school, but also in their daily lives. A lot of them, they came from the projects, maybe didn't have any father figures in their lives. They really needed somebody to mentor them and believe in them. And that's exactly what he did. He saw their full potential in them, and he was a guy who gave him second, third chances. Some of them were, and it's documented in this film, pushing drugs or just like really getting into fights constantly and not being good in school. And he chose to become a substitute teacher at that school on top of everything, on top of his fire duties and basketball duties, just to make sure that those boys would succeed in life and not just win on the court, but off the court. AJ Green, he's a great example. The NFL star, he was
Yes.
one person on this team, one of the boys, and he struggled immensely. He had lost his older brother in a car crash when he was little. He was sitting right next to him. And since that day, he had struggled in school, learning disabilities. And Coach Mulkey sat with him for weeks in school, making sure that he would have the grades to play on the team and be able to graduate and possibly go to college. And I mean, look at his trajectory. I mean, he's now an NFL star.
Right.
Wow.
So what is just as a side note, what is the process for something like this? So you learn the story,
right?
And then you hear about it. So you said you just grabbed your camera and just go start interviewing people. I mean, how does a project like this come to completion?
Something has to trigger you emotionally, something that you feel like this is something that is worth telling, and there's more to it's a story than just what the news story is of like a basketball team that is kind of winless and in shambles, and this coach literally gives his life for those boys to find success and then have the resolve to actually do it for their coach. That was the news story, but there was so much more, so many layers to it, so much complexity to the story. Each and every of these boys had their own story to tell. And so I knew that there was something about the story that attracted me, that went beyond this news story, but deserved a full feature-length film to really shed light on their struggles and what they had to overcome to believe in themselves.
Oh, that's so powerful. And so what is it about? Because there's lots of areas in terms of the career, the world that you're in. What is it about documentaries that kind of attract you?
Real life stories. I mean, I have friends who work on Avenger films and all those hero films that everybody loves so much. But I mean, I find there's so many untold stories, of the everyday heroes, people who, uplift other people, do all they can do for others, and without expecting anything in return. Firefighters, first responders, teachers. My wife is a second grade school teacher. I know how hard these people work, and and what an impact they have on their students and on other people. And so I feel like this story really hit so many levels for me, where somebody who does so much already in terms of like firefighting, as a substitute teacher, and then as a coach, he wanted to really understand these boys and how he could really help them to grow to become real men.
That's so powerful. So once again, just to reset, the film is The Green Wave.
Right.
Tells the incredible true story of Louis Mulkey, a basketball coach, firefighter, and substitute teacher at Summerville High School, who passed away in a massive fire, and his underdog team went on to win the state championship in his honor. So folks, and people may not know, about our friends at Crackle, but could talk about Crackle for a moment.
Well, I mean, people like Chris Woolsey, I mean, they have been right from the get-go huge about this film and promoting it. His team is outstanding. Obviously, they're partnered up with Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment, and now they're really showing a lot of films that are inspirational in nature. And they found this film after I won the LA International Film Festival, and wanted really to have kind of a slate of films that are about inspirational sports stories. They have a couple of those other films as well about other basketball stars that made an impact in their lives. Yeah, and then they found the Green Wave, and wanted really to showcase this film, make it an original standout on the Crackle platform, and I'm super happy working with the folks, and hopefully we get to make a real movie out of it as well, because that's what I'm working on next. Not just the documentary feature, that's all done, but now I really want to make this into a mainstream movie.
Wow. So that is I wondered about that. So that is the next step in this vision for you,
Yeah,
to make it into a full length motion picture.
That's right. Yeah, I have a script already and everything else ready to go. It's just a little bit of the financing that comes next, right?
Yeah, right. Wow. So people can watch the documentary now on Crackle,
right?
But then they can be watching for a potential full length film down the road.
Yeah, I'd love that. Yes.
And so, Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment, they created Crackle, or they're in partnership with Crackle? How does that work?
Partnership with Crackle, I believe. Originally it was the Sony platform, and they're doing something really special where it's not a paid subscription, but anybody can watch films there. And then I think there's different levels, like sometimes there's a commercial, yes, but ultimately it's free to watch for everyone. And they have a huge slate of films, and I'm a big fan of Crackle.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Really good people. Chicken Soup for the Soul, in terms of, speaking of storytelling and goodness, they're certainly on the same page as well. Well, this is fantastic. I'm looking forward to watching the Green Wave myself. So if you're interested, folks, I'd encourage you to watch this documentary. It's called The Green Wave. You can find it at crackle.com, and Guido Verweyen, which, by the way, you can find at guidoverweyen.com, GuidoVerweyen, Guido, Verweyen.com. Is that right? Did I get that all right?
Yeah. And one more thing, the Green Wave, the title, I thought was so powerful because it's also the mascot of Summerville High School, of the team. And a lot of the players were saying the Green Wave. It was kind of funny in the beginning because there was no wave, not even a ripple. It was flat, right? Until Coach Mookie came along and caused little ripples and started to make waves for these boys. And I think the waves are still going strong. I mean, you have people like AJ Green now being a superstar in the NFL. You have boys like Marlon, who was, very much a struggling student, and now he is actually coaching football at the school. He just announced that he's going to be, coaching there at Summerville High School. He went full circle back, and even the high school gym was renamed to the Firehouse in honor of the coach. So that's
wow,
right there.
Where is Summerville High School? Just out of curiosity.
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Okay. Well, that's fantastic. The Green Wave. So check it out, folks. The Green Wave's at Crackle. Guido Verweyen's my guest. Guido, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. And we'll see you all next time.
Take care.